Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Going to give you some feedback on day 2 of the Pacific Audio Fest. And before I get into rooms, let's talk about the show in general. From what I understand, this was the first year of the show, and I talked to the organizer today, and for a first year show, it's actually pretty admirable, especially some of the brands that they got are brand companies that did not exhibit elsewhere. Today I got to see the Alcivox room. They weren't at Expona or Long Beach or Florida. I got to see the Genesis room is another one that wasn't at these other shows. There's a bunch of brands. In fact, the one video I uploaded today is a long video because this guy was so intriguing. We didn't even listen to music. He had the craziest room I've ever been in. But that obviously, that guy's never been at any other show. So it's been a good show in terms of for an attendee. I have heard that some vendors are a little worried about the traffic, especially yesterday. I think today it was a lot better. But obviously, a first show, there's always the issue of you've got to build some momentum. So the only negative I can see from an attendee standpoint for this show is that this hotel in Seattle right now is going through a heat wave, and evidently air conditioning is not that popular or used that much in Seattle. So there are some rooms, some corridors that are extremely hot. I was wearing a sport coat today. Man, it was sweaty. So just weather related things and just different for this area of the country, unusual, causing a little bit of an issue there. But one of the great things about this hobby, like I said, you can the attendance isn't overwhelming like Expona, where you can some rooms you can't even get into, or you can't get the sweet spot, which really can make or break whether you like a room or not. You shouldn't make that as your judgment of a room, especially if you don't get in the sweet spot. But you can't even really make a decision one way or the other if you can't get in the room or you have to stand up or get a poor location. That's not the case with this show. Even in the most popular rooms, I've been able to get great seats. And in fact, one of the videos I uploaded at the end of the day was Anne Besant singing in the Akora room, which I'm going to spend some more time in there on Sunday for the actual speakers without Anne Besant. But if you notice, I got front row center. She was right in front of me singing. So for attendees, it's great. Also, they have it spread out among the campus here of this hotel. Is kind of unique, such that there are towers, but you only have to go on the elevator for one floor. So it's not like you're waiting for elevators or people going from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 and you have to stop at 20 stops. There's only rooms on the penthouse in the tower section of the hotel, and everything else is more diversified into these little two-story wings. And so there's some great advantages to this campus for the show. And like I said, some of the rooms, the hotel rooms, it was brought up in one of the videos, but in case you didn't notice it, the rooms are a little bit wider than a stereotypical, forgive the pun, hotel room. And so that has helped with performance of gear, and also there's a noise floor improvement both in conference rooms and in the hotel rooms. So the show as a whole, I'd give thumbs up, especially for their first year and the brands they attracted. It's been overall very good. Very few rooms that I've been disappointed in at all, and usually if I have been disappointed, it's been due to malfunctions in gear or just natural things that, and S happens. Okay, guys. The only ones that I would say, well, there's one room I'm going to this is going to be in the membership section because I don't like to call out a specific brand, but there's been one brand that has been at Florida, Expona, Long Beach, and now this one. And every time I go in there, it's like the music is crackling and distorted and terrible, and I don't feel good about even uploading the video. I don't want to hurt a brand, but I don't want to sugarcoat things either and show things that are be disingenuous with what I'm hearing. For the most part, everything I'm uploading is as I'm going in, but when something sounds so wrong and broken, I just thought the first couple times it was show conditions, first day, whatever. But now this is yet another time I go in this exact same room, same thing every time. And so, I mean, I'll mention it in the membership section, but I don't feel comfortable just because I don't know what's going on with that room, to be honest with you. I really don't. But in any case, I will share one thing though with you guys on a totally different room. The acapella speakers is here, which wasn't at any of these other shows. So that's another kudos to this show. But now I've gone into that room twice and they're playing it at such low volume, almost elevator music or less. I thought that they weren't even ready. So I'm hoping that they're playing at a higher volume so that I can get some music tracks for you, because obviously the acapella spherons and the triolons we've showcased on my channel recently, and these are a different model of acapellas, but they're playing it so low. And one of the advantages of acapellas is, horns and being dynamic. So I'm hoping that'll change, but I haven't built any rapport with the people there in the room yet to know them and be able to talk to them and get anything going on that front, because they just don't go to a lot of shows. So I'll try to do that for you guys. That's the only room that been quote disappointing, because I haven't been able to get some music. I'm going to go back to some rooms. I have plenty of time on Sunday, and then I'm going to feature some rooms I haven't seen yet. There is the Acora room, where I briefly went in the other day with Ambisson, but that's always a good room. There's also a room called Acoustic Fields, where the guy built a room inside of a room, and everybody's been talking about how innovative that is. So I'll have that for you tomorrow. So there'll be some really cool stuff. Now, in terms of today, which were the standout rooms? Well, Alcivox is one of my favorites. Open baffle, line array. They're basically, as I titled in the video, Maggie's on steroids. So everything that people don't like about Maggie's are the weaknesses of Maggie's. The Alcivox pretty much overtake those weaknesses. And so if you like the Maggie's, the Alcivox would be your end game scenario. It doesn't mean everybody's going to think that speaker's the best, but it was extremely good today in a small room, where they did bring their smaller model, but it filled that room very nice, and they made it well. Another room that stood out to me, and a lot of times when I remark about a room being near my favorites, one of the functions of it is going to be what my expectations were going into it. Sometimes if I have a high expectations and it meets that expectations, it may not resonate with me at the end of the day when I do these videos as much. But one that had a delta of what I expected and what I heard, that was really a big difference, and what I heard I thought was really high level, was the KEF room with the Parasound electronics, which Parasound, at $10,000 a pair of JC1 monoblocks, I think you would be hard pressed to beat that at that price, to be honest with you. When you look at the build quality, the pedigree of John Curl behind it, Parasound being a very reputable brand, but not overpriced, not a lot of stuff going in the fancy heat sinks and gauges and all that stuff. That's an amp that is going to give you reference level performance at 10,000 or less. And you could spend 10 times that much sometimes and not get any better. So electronics wise, I was impressed with it, but the KEF blades in there really impressed me more than what I've heard them in the past. And so I don't know what the function difference here, other than one thing I'm noting in all the rooms that I'm seeing, that at least a common denominator is that ASC Tube Traps is located in this area of the country, and they actually have a booth in the vendor area marketplace, and they were giving out to exhibitors their ASC Tube Traps. So I've seen more ASC Tube Traps than anywhere else at any show in prior history. And boy, those are always been my favorite if you've been following my channel when I've talked about room treatments. And in fact, when I went to the marketplace today, I had a special video in ASC where they have a demo how you turn it, and it's diffraction and absorption, and you can hear it right there. They've got an SPL meter to show you how difference it makes one side versus the other. Very powerful tool. If you can get away with the looks of those, that's a great room treatment. And so I think the KEF Parasound room had quite a bit of ASC Tube Traps. The way they set up that room on the long wall, I think they did everything to make the KEF blades shine. And I heard several tracks that were ones that I are familiar with. And so that's always a good benchmark. Did I hear stuff with the KEF blades that are better than what I have at home or what I've heard on Mega Dollar systems? And the answer would be yes. I did hear some things that they did better than some Mega Dollar systems, especially in the bass area. So again, that's probably a kudos to the room treatment and not having a much influence in bass that takes away from the performance of the blades until they're performing as they're probably designed and measured. But it's pretty impressive regardless. I think those KEF blades, I don't know if they've done some updates to them or whatnot, but whatever they're doing is much better than I've heard them in the past, and that delta is really gone up. And of course the other one is the Alcivox. Plenty of other ones though. All the other rooms that I featured today were top notch. I didn't hear anything that was bad or disappointing. So if I featured it, I pretty much thought it was good. Like I said, the only ones that I need to go back to are the ones that had some malfunctions where I normally would mention that. That crazy room had a speaker that wasn't finished yet, so I didn't really spend time listening to it. And then the acapella just weren't playing at a level that was high enough to justify me even recording anything or being able to assess anything. So stay tuned for some rooms like I mentioned that I haven't featured yet. I've got a little bit more to feature for the first time, and then I'll go back and feature some more. So don't hesitate to leave some comments on which ones you want me to see. I know a lot of people have been asking me about benchmarking spatial and whatnot. I probably will do a whole nother video on that alone because that's going to be a very comprehensive discussion. But in short, spatial was another great room I visited today. Lots of good open baffle options. The Pure Audio Project, I know a lot of people like those. They're a little less on my favorite list, but I see where people can definitely enjoy that for an open baffle. But below the Linkwitz and the spatial, in my opinion. But again, open baffle to me doing really well at this show, and the Alcivox probably is right up there with the Linkwitz as my two favorites in that realm. So without further ado, I'm going to sign off for tonight, get some rest, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.